In this conversation, John and Henry explore the concept of mindfulness, discussing its simplicity and the importance of being present in daily life. They delve into the cultural perspectives on mindfulness, the role of thoughts and emotions, and the distinction between meditation and mindfulness. The discussion emphasizes the overcomplication of mindfulness in society and the journey to becoming the watcher of one's mind, ultimately highlighting the importance of awareness and choice in engaging with thoughts. They discuss how our minds can often mislead us and how mindfulness practices can help us navigate our thoughts and emotions.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, welcome back to another episode of The Universal Lens. I am John Emilio, along, as always, with the lovely
Antonio Banderas.
Enrique Beltra.
That's
Henry
right.
Beltra.
That's right.
Back at it for another week of fun-filled talk. Jokes, comments, toxic. No, I'm joking.
Whoa. You'll get everything here.
We're all about, we're all about current events, politics, conspiracy theories on the show.
I tell you, you're right.
If
You're
you've
right.
listened to any of our episodes, you know I am talking out of my bunghole.
Well, they don't know, but off camera, we talk about everything. Like,
oh yeah, sure.
there is nothing we don't hold back on. But when we, like you, I think you said before, when we talk,
but we talk mindfully about it.
we can. It's funny because we got together recently, was for the Super Bowl.
Yes,
and you got to witness me mindfully knowing I'm talking about politics, but reel it back because it's easy. And it's weird because you're the same person. Like, you're the same person.
You were surrounded by like-minded people, but like, in other words, everybody you were talking to, the other two people you were talking to were they lean the same. They both lean the same way.
Yeah, I get you.
One, my brother-in-law, way more, but my other one, my cousin, he's also leans.
I get you.
I guess
you're right.
Right?
You're right.
Right? Right. Yeah.
Which actually brings me to a question I want to ask you.
Yes, hopefully I have an answer. If not, I will look like a buffoon.
Get ready. Hit record. You want this? I have a question. So, John, do you ever find yourself in this, I'm going to use a term because we got to use a term so you can understand what I'm trying to say. Maintenance mode, almost like when you question yourself if you're slipping on mindfulness and you want to sort of go, am I on maintenance mode? Like in the beginning, in my early stages, I would be meditating and I would be having a certain objective, which is you're constantly trying to see if you can not give any attention to the thoughts that jump into your mind.
Yeah.
But give attention to where you want it to go to.
Okay.
So in the beginning, you have a goal. You have a reason as to why you're doing. You have a goal, right? Now, time has passed. I consider myself a mindful person. I consider myself, and like you say, I don't actively meditate, but I'm actively mindful. I do my tasks mindfully. I drive mindfully. I live mindfully.
You pay attention to what's going on between your ears.
Right.
You're not on autopilot.
It's like I'm using you because I also find myself that I no longer meditate as much. Do I? Sure. Every so often. But I feel like I don't need to. I also feel like
Fine.
I just don't have the urge to. That's it. It's just if I don't have the urge to. But there are times where I think I'd like to. And then I do. But I question this. Should I be on some sort of maintenance so that,
like with the meditation, you mean? Like meditating?
I don't know. I don't know if it's a
like
meditation.
going in for an oil change every 3,000 miles.
It kind of, it's almost like this. Like I don't want to make the mistake of psyching out the psyche where you think you're on this mindful path. You think you're living mindfully. As far as you're concerned, you are.
Okay.
But in reality, because you're so sure that you are, you're kind of getting further and further away from, or is that?
I think you would. Okay. So,
or is that just being hyper hyper aware.
I think a little bit is you're being hyper. Actually, the word you didn't, and you weren't. For when you were saying that, the whole theme of OCD came into my head again for a quick second because, and that's what
It
you're
grazes by,
you just you graze it, but you ever so slightly
right.
graze it. But that whole checking in on
Got it.
is usually a form of a hyper aware mind saying, "Well, am I, like with OCD would be, am I, was that thought something that I really wanted? Why would I do that? Why did I think that?" And you start playing this game of being very aware, but not aware in a awareness presence mode. And I do this just so you get it, but more of a, oh my God, am I losing it? Am I not losing it? Am I on it? What am I doing wrong? Like a checking in mode. There's a difference. So, I mean, there's no such thing as a maintenance mode. I think it's just an everyday practice. Like we practice daily. And are there times where you catch yourself maybe being unconscious? Absolutely, because you're a human being.
Okay.
You're going to be. If not, you'd be divine. And if you were divine, shit, let's go walk on water, bro.
Right.
Come on, let's do it.
Well, before I walk on water, I would make eggs appear. Huh?
Yes, God knows. Use them now. Huevos.
Yeah.
We need huevos.
I go turn rocks to eggs.
You get that chicken in your backyard, let them hatch to have and pop those eggs out.
Yeah, I mean, to illustrate it a little differently, it's like, you know how I always say, let all those feelings in the room, or
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
we refer to the mind as the room.
Come on in, everybody.
Right? And so I have this vision that my mind is the room, and of course it's empty because I'm an empty airhead. And over there on the side wall appears a door every so often, and it's almost like, am I still mindful? Am I still? It's almost like I'm questioning myself.
Yeah, I think sometimes look, it could be a little bit of old patterns that are just kind of replaying, or it takes the form of something else. So maybe if you're not checking in on a scary thought or something that's bothering you as much or was, your mind just finds something else to now. Okay, now what do we question? So remember, the mind it never stops trying to protect us. And if you're watching, you can see the air quotes, protect us, because its job is always, like we've said 1,000 times in the show, is to protect us. Your mind's going to find another reason. If a reason that's been given you is no longer grabbing your attention, so now the mind has acclimated to that and be like, all right, well, Henry's not giving the attention to that thought, so forget about it. Well, we're not going to bother him as much with it because it's not something that obviously is garnishing that attention that I want him to give us. Well, what else? Okay, well, let's check in on this. And okay, and here's the attention. And now you give a little bit more attention, and now you start questioning, wow. Am I aware? Am I being aware? Am I aware right now? Am I aware? Or am I just like coasting? Am I on autopilot with mindfulness? Or am I really aware? If you pull back from that, the person who's asking that question is who? The mind. All you got to do is stop and watch the thought, and you're absolutely aware, mindful, and present once again. That's it. And don't engage it. Are there things you could do to call it a maintenance mode? Sure. It's practicing daily, being mindful in the stuff we do. Yeah. And if it's meditating, right? Once in a while, if you enjoy doing it. If you don't enjoy doing it, I'm not a big sit and meditate kind of person. I'm more of I have a thought and then I just watch it. I have a feeling and I'll watch it. I have an emotion and I'm more of a watcher than I am a meditator. And look, are there benefits to meditation? Absolutely. You could go really deep with it. There's physical benefits you could get from it. But also, I know a lot of crazy, a lot of batshit crazy people who meditate every day of their lives.
Yeah.
And they're absolute nut jobs. Like in like a day-to-day living, the way they go about their lives, they're unhinged and they're emotional and they're, toxic to a certain level, but they will tell you that they meditate on a daily basis.
And therefore,
I must be mindful. No, so, I mean, not that we went off on a tangent with the meditation, but meditating is great. If it has a benefit for you, and the benefit's going to be, are you sitting with those thoughts while you're doing it? Not trying to look the other way, not trying to negate, say they're not there, not telling the person, but to actually sit with them and allow them come face to face and be present. Then the meditation has a benefit for you, right? Even I've been listening to, like I said, another podcast, and these guys were talking about meditation, and they actually said the same exact thing. And when I was listening to it, I was like, "Hello!" I was like, "Yes." I said, "That's so true." Like we've been saying that for years now. Meditation is not about doing something. It's not about doing it and checking it off, right? So people can say, "I meditated today. So I'm trying to practice."
Yeah.
No, that's a doing, not a being kind of thing. It's not what you do; it's how you do it. So, but yeah, the meditation does have a place if it has a benefit for you, 110%.
Right. I mean, for me, yes, meditation is what helped me get to where I'm at. But in reality, it's everything. I'm like you. It's my new iOS, so I consider that I act accordingly because everything I do is mindfully. I can't not be mindful. Be honest, like at this point,
Because it became a default.
right?
It's become a default for you.
So I have this question that comes, hey, from the back. Are we being mindful? Like
Who's asking that question?
yeah. Oh, not yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Right.
But
It's the old thing. Did you ask that question, or was that question asked?
Yeah.
Like,
so your answer makes everything much simpler than you even think. In other words, it's simpler than you thought it was, because I'm here asking, look, is there a time on your journey where you kind of second guess and just say, hey, am I keeping up? And then you're like, yeah, it's simpler than that.
I'm aware that I'm asking myself that question, and then my mind wants to know: am I doing it the right way? Am I doing it enough? And what my mind's trying to do? And I'm like, thank you, mind. Mindfulness is so simple, but yet so complex to the human mind, but yet so simple in its natural state. It's a very simple thing. Everybody has it. Everybody could do it at any moment right now. Done. Everybody's expecting balloons to pop, confetti, fireworks to go off when they're mindful. Like, and in the beginning, you do kind of get that little bit of a feeling, but that wears off because, like everything, our body acclimates to things. But mindfulness is very, very simple. Society today and social media and listen, more power to all the people who are pushing mindfulness out there, not pushing it, but pushing it out there, like on platforms, who are proponents for this way of looking at life, who are advocating for it, who are either coaching it. Great for all of them. The reason it's become such a big business is because people overcomplicate it and they give you steps. Do this, do that, do the next thing, and you'll be mindful. Do this, do that, do that, do that, do that. If you're with a mindfulness instructor and you're getting a list of things to do to be mindful, I'm not saying that they're taking you down the wrong path, but they're overcomplicating it, which is why I usually talk to somebody twice and like I don't hear from them again. Not because, oh, John's fucking out of his mind, he doesn't know what he's talking about, but because we get to the point so quick where it's like, this will answer, like the next question that comes up, here it is, like watch, notice, choose, done. All the other stuff, the fluff is great. It's like, not to get into a religious thing again, but like when Jesus said to the high priests that they had all these rituals that had to be done in order to be a follower of God, and he was like, no, that's all customs, that's all traditions you have, has nothing to do with what this actually means, right? What he was actually talking about. This is kind of that same thing, which I'm a believer or I've kind of come to the realization that he was talking about a lot of inner consciousness and inner being and not what like churches make it out to be. But that's besides the point. It doesn't have just the way he was trying to make it simple. So simple, right? But there was all these layers on top of it.
Perfect. Yeah.
Today, and again, all these mindfulness instructors and meditation teachers, I think it's great that they're doing it because they're helping people. And I guess there's a business aspect to it. I understand that, right? So that's why I'm not very good at the business aspect of this, because I try to keep it so simple where you really don't need like to hang out with me. You can hang out with me and we'll have a great time. you don't need to sit with me very long,
Right.
for many, many days. Mindfulness is very simple. All the other stuff on top are the customs, the traditions, the stuff that'll be fun to do maybe, or little bells and whistles to it. But what it actually is very simple. And once you understand it, it's just a dropping and a watching. And once you get that and you start watching your thoughts and you start realizing that you're not these thoughts in your mind, you're not these voices in your head, you're not these emotions when they come up. Till today, it probably happened 10 times where I would see a thought and I'd be like, wow, look where my mind wants me to go. Look, and I'm saying that when I say it to myself, there's a realization, look where my mind wants me to go. And here are all these people in my head all of a sudden, right? Yeah, not like, I have whole voices, but yes, all these voices, different voices in my head, but none of them are who I am because I'm the one who's watching them. Now I get to choose which one I want to engage. And then I grab it and follow. Okay, let's energize this thought. Let's energize this thought. Let's energize this thought. I'm okay. No, thank you. No, thank you. And sometimes it'll repeatedly throw one at me. Blah, 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 blah. And I'm, no, thank you. No, thank you. My mind wants to tell me, oh, your ears are really ringing today, John. What if we can't stop? What if we never stop hearing it again? What if it's this? And what if it's that? You know how
what if
easy
you lose your hearing altogether?
Exactly. You know what it? Well, you know how easy it would be for me to just grab onto that and here we go down a rabbit hole. I watched that thought and I realized that is not me. It's not beneficial. It's that simple. Becoming the watcher of your mind. Everybody has it, but we're so engaged with all the nonsense that flows constantly, that mind stream that doesn't stop at all during the day. We never take a second, which is why meditation is a great portal to start, because it forces you to sit with your breath and bring your attention elsewhere. But once you realize that, you can do it with anything. I learned with a Hershey kiss. I didn't learn by meditating. Like my first, and I said this on the show, it's in the book. I said my first intro to mindfulness was a Hershey fucking kiss. It's a candy I've eaten 1,000 times in my life. Probably 1,000 times too many, but they're good. Yeah. They are tasty. That was and when I finished it, I was like, holy shit. I just watched myself eat a piece of candy.
Yeah.
Now, did I get it right there and then I was done? No, because
how ridiculous is that?
But it is a practice. And the more you practice it, the more you strengthen the awareness, and the awareness grows to where it's stronger, brighter, more amplified than the thought. So now it's transcended. Now it's transcended and it's above the thoughts and it gets to watch them. Yes, do you get caught in the mud occasionally? Of course, because we are human beings. But that happens a hell of a lot less often once you have this. So you don't need all those layers. I mean, look, they're great if you want to do them. Again, this isn't an anti-meditation school or an anti-life coach thing or no, not at all. But like I said before, good for them that they're putting it out there. But if you feel like, oh my God, there's too much to learn, then somebody's overcomplicating it for you. And they just might be overcomplicated because that's how they were taught it. It's not a complex thing, but it takes a willingness to sit with something and be able to watch it and not engage. Let that thought pass. Uncomfortable, hard to do at times in the beginning, a certain degree of difficulty in it, urges that of an emotion that wants to come up and you could feel it in your body. Yes, that's all that part of that process, because now you're trying to watch and not engage. You're trying to respond and not react, right? And that takes a minute, but that practice eventually becomes, like you say, you knew iOS, right? Or I'll say it's this thing that now transcends everything, has to see it from above. But it's a very simple process. People like saying, your book's only 88 pages. I'm like, yes. And the biggest compliment I've gotten about the book is it's short, concise, gets to the point, gets you to the door, shows you the door, and then done. That's it.
That's the beauty of the book.
That's the beauty of it. That I'm not giving you, because this is how I learned it, right? I didn't learn it through this complex thing. I mean, ACT, acceptance, commitment, theory. Yes, they're not things to do. They just break down mindfulness into these core principles, right? So it's just to give words to how you see things, but there's no do this and then do that and then do the other thing and then no. It all comes down to the same thing. You're watching a thought, an emotion, a feeling, an urge come. Now you get the choice you have the choice to engage or not engage and follow your values. It's not a laundry list of things to do. Sit here, put your hand over your belly button, feel your third eye, take a deep breath, hold it. By the way, again, that deep breathing is very good for you. I've done it. It does feel calming at times, but that doesn't make you a more mindful person. That can lower your blood pressure. 100%. It could help you feel a little bit more centered. It could calm you down and relax you in a time when you're anxious, right? Like hyperventilating something, kind of getting your breath under control. 1000%. But meditating doesn't teach you mindfulness. It can, right, but it's not a necessary portal. It's just a portal, right? And I meditate occasionally, not all the time anymore. Like I've said before, I don't meditate often, but I still do meditate. But I just walk around mindfully 24/7, 365 now.
Sure. I think I'm the same way. I think I'm exactly the same way. I think everything you said is the way I feel, except that I might meditate a little bit more than you, but not
personal
a lot,
choice.
But not a lot, you know.
But personal choice. If somebody wants to meditate 3 times a day, that's great.
Yeah,
go for it. The point is, you don't need all the things that people are saying nowadays that you have to do. Like, it's just exploded. And when I watch a lot of these, different influencers or people talking about it, sometimes people try to put their spin on it, right? Or whatever. And it could just become something where it gets so complicated, it turns somebody off.
A little overdone.
Yeah. And what happens is that person now feels like they can't keep up with this. I can't do all these different things. I can't meditate this way. And should I meditate like that? Or should I meditate like that? Or should I do this? Or should I do that? Or should I do this thing? Or, what should my next action be? Or how should I look at this? Or what? It's not that complicated. It's really, it's easy for me to say it now, I guess. And maybe somebody who's at the door coming in be like, hey, it doesn't feel that simple. And that's why I said at the beginning of the show, it is so simple, but yet can feel so complex. Because in the beginning, you're going to have this overwhelming feeling of, okay, what do I do with this thought? What do I do with this thought? Nothing. And that's the answer is nothing. Is that thought benefit? Like there's 2 or 3 questions that'll repeat in your mind. Is that thought beneficial in this moment in your life? Is this something that I value? And you'll know that answer. You won't have to actually say it. You'll know it. When I say no, it's going to come from a mind and heart. Like your heart's going to speak, and it's going to tell you without using a word. There's a knowing, and that's probably the biggest thing. You evolve into having this thing that's a knowing inside of you, where you know without even having to hear it, like hear your own voice in your head say something. That knowing starts to kind of point you and guide you in certain directions. That's like our inner voice, our inner consciousness, whatever word you want to give it, right? But that's how simple it is. But the only way you get to hear that is by practicing to where you could turn the volume down from a 10 to an 8 to a 7. Now you start to hear that more. You start to feel it. It starts to become more prominent in your life. But that only happens if this is something that you do adopt as a daily practice, meaning just be aware when you're doing things. Pause for a second before you say something. If there's an urge, like if you're in an argument with something and a word flies to the front of your head, that word is usually not the most beneficial word in that argument, because now you just got to make a point. But you ever stop for a second, like literally a second, and just for 2 seconds, just watch that word, whatever it could be, asshole, jerk, you're wrong. But wait, let me tell you, let it fly by for a second. See what comes up behind it. Usually the next word that wants to come up is a little bit more intelligent of a response. And even if you let that one go by for another second or 2, see what comes up again, even a more intelligent response, because you're letting that garbage kind of fly out of you first.
That's good.
But if you're not aware of that garbage, you usually grab onto it. And now you create a neural pathway and a reaction in your mind. That first word comes up, I say it. I know, I say it. I say it.
You're reacting, you're not responding.
Exactly. And you're never giving the chance for that actual, like that proper answer, which could diffuse a situation, could spread some light on a situation, could open somebody's eyes to something. You don't allow that to actually come out because you have this emotionally charged response that wants to come out first, reaction that wants to come out first. By just practicing that, like that one simple little thing, which is mindfulness at its core, being mindful of what we say, do, how we act. It's a watching,
So my original question is basically just the ego.
It might have gone completely off track.
No, but
okay.
But that original question is basically just the ego or the thinking mind trying to grab your attention somehow, some way.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Always.
That's it. So, I mean, in a nutshell, I think as I look back and I look back on mindfulness and kind of, we were talking a little bit about this before the show is, so like, here's that baseline mindfulness, or here's that baseline you, the watcher, the you. And there's all these layers on top of that. Society, as you said, relationships with different people, like social media, what you're supposed to do, what you're told you have to do, but all these layers. So in reality, you start here and you got to get through all these layers to get in touch with the you, to get in touch with the mindful you. And it's a lot. And it's like, it's daunting at first when you look at all these things. But once you're in the practice, once you understand that all these layers are like little things that your ego will pick up on to make you,
sure,
to make you second guess, or to make you, let's say, whoa, what's the word? Because I'm the famous word loser.
Oh no, you're not as good as me. I got you beat there, buddy.
When you obsess over certain things, so it has this thick pool of layers to throw at you, so that you can obsess over things, ruminate.
Yeah, rumination.
And there's so much, right?
There'll never be a shortage of things that your mind can ruminate about. That's what it's there to do.
So the reason I mention all that is because again, I'm speaking about myself. I'm speaking about myself, but it could be dangerous. So I'm somebody that used to ruminate quite often.
Okay.
I'm a famous ruminator. And now I'm not ruminating. At least not that I'm aware of.
You would know if you were ruminating. Because
I would know. So therefore, I don't think I'm ruminating.
Yeah. I mean, everybody ruminates slightly on things once in a while, but like not to the point where it's taken away.
So I have this one pretty big event in my life that my mind wants to ruminate on, right? And you know this on off camera, but I don't. It's the healthiest of all things that I like. Wow, it's incredible. It's not front and center every day, every moment. It's not. It's in the background, and every once in a while, it
does a lap.
The merry-go-round
comes around.
The cream horse and the merry-go-round. Oh, there it is. Oh, there it is. And so, like that kind of deal. And so when that happens, you question, or questions. The ego starts to, hey, question.
Don't you want to jump on that horse and go with it? Come on, don't let it go.
And, so having a mind that had those patterns, I'm like, should I be questioning? Should I be second guessing?
Because it wants you to, the mind in its warped and misguided way wants you to grab onto something else to be concerned about because it's trying to protect Henry. They say, our mind doesn't do it because it's trying to screw us. It's not intentionally.
He's a good guy.
It has one job: keep Henry alive. Done. Now it's evolved over years into no tiger, no bear, no lion coming in my house, monetarily, career-wise, family, health, kids, blah, 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 blah. Then you throw on media, social media, politics, the political state of the world, the chaos, and oh my God, asteroids are hitting the world,
And then-
and everything.
And then it's not even what you want to pay attention. Exactly. What they wanted you to pay. Oh my God.
So there's no shortage of that. And your mind's always going to try to do that. You have to understand that. And it could be the most minute thing, something that would probably on a normal day, not even like, am I questioning, am I mindful right now? Am I like, did my mind just actually ask me, am I mindful right now? Am I being mindful? Am I doing enough to be mindful? Am I practicing it still? Like, it's your mind saying, oh, Henry, pay attention. Yeah. I know this is important to you, mindfulness, how you live your life. You're an aware person. Pay attention. Henry, make sure that you don't lose it. It's a good hook. Because if you lose it, you're going to be with me again, hanging out in the basement. Do you want to do that? Let's go. Again, once you realize it's not your enemy, you don't treat it like an enemy. You treat it like that nuisance child that just constantly, like my dog who doesn't stop scratching on the door because he wants to come downstairs because he knows we're down here, right? But if I keep going, yeah, Milo, it's okay, buddy, he's going to keep scratching. If I get quiet and I don't say nothing, he's going to sit down and wait and go, when he comes back, I'll be here waiting, right? Okay, your mind acts the same way. It's a little trickier. Yes, not like an animal or a person. It's a little trickier because you can't walk out of the room and leave the dog or the kid there. Your mind follows you wherever you go, right? So it doesn't leave you alone. But if you stop energizing everything that it wants you to do, you also have a capacity to pick and choose the things that you want to focus on. Again, this is not a perfect science, right? We're not machines. We're not robots. We're not an actual program, even though like we say like, oh my God, our iOS, we are human beings. And while our minds work a certain way, there is a fault in it, right? So it's not like it's going to work perfectly. So it's not to expect it to, but it's to realize that no matter what it's doing, even if it has this fault that's making you anxious, or a fault that's making you worried, or a fault that's making you scared, or a fault that's making you think you're not good enough, or this fault in your mind that's making whatever it might be, it's not who you actually are. And you get to realize that once you really kind of give this world a little bit of practice and a little bit of effort and attention, and then you start to look at everything and go, I don't care what my mind says. I'm not good enough as that guy at the gym. I'm not big enough as that guy at the gym. I'm not strong enough as that guy at the gym. Or I'm not as good looking as that guy. Or I'm not as smart as this person. Or we're not as popular podcasters as those people are. Or it's not going to give me a shortage of that shit. But the choice is mine if I want to engage it or not. And the only reason I could do that is because I learned how to eat a Hershey Kiss one day, very simply by watching it, doing it, and not being stuck in the story of doing it, but actually paying attention to what I am doing, paying attention, being mindful of the action. It's one of the best things I learned. One of the first things I learned when I was following Eckhart Tolle. I remember him talking one day about a sunset. He goes, how many people watch a sunset but have never experienced a sunset? And I'm like, what does that mean? And I've watched it. I've seen it. The red color is beautiful. Smelling the air. He goes, you weren't experiencing that sunset. He goes, you were experiencing a verbal story in your mind about what you think you're seeing. He goes, you weren't present with that. You weren't present with that sunset. You were actually playing a movie in your head about what you were seeing, and you were watching actual movie in your head about what you're seeing. And here is the description of it. He goes, you ever sit with a sunset in silence, and if a thought comes up of look how pretty that is, not engage it and just keep focusing on it? There's a different level of experience of that thing that you're watching now that I can't explain because words can't explain, but yet at the same time, it's beautiful, right? And your mind doesn't stop. Wow, red, orange, ooh, smell of salt water. But if I keep engaging them, now I put a movie in my head. Oh, isn't this the most beautiful thing? Honey, isn't this gorgeous? Look how beautiful that is. That's absolutely amazing. It's so gorgeous. I didn't pay attention to that sunset. I saw it, but I wasn't present with it. And like, those are things when I heard it, I was like, okay, I didn't get it. But then I actually practiced it one day and I'm like, holy shit. Yes. Like I engage the story so much, I'm actually not watching what's really happening. So whether it's a Hershey Kiss or a sunset, washing dishes or going for a walk or writing in your book or sending an email to somebody, like I could watch myself respond to somebody. Like I'm typing, I know the thought, I see the thought, but I'm still watching it happen. I'm not like, And don't get me wrong, there are times where I'm like, it happens too.
Yep.
Because again, we're human beings, right?
But exactly what you said, and I take you right to that email because I do a lot of email myself. I have found that I'll start backspace deleting stuff and rewriting because I quickly.
So do I.
Right. So the first thing was a quick answer, and then I was like, well, the message is still there. Let me just clean up the way I'm saying it.
First was that reactive kind of.
So the message is still what I'm going to say, but how I'm going to say it might change.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, again, my question was very innocent and very just in casey, type
just
of
in case.
Just in casey.
That is a word, by the way. Look it up.
It just add a Y after everything. But yeah, because you just want to, you kind of want to bounce it off, especially, you be like, is this, am I right? Yeah. I again, having the old paths, the old alleys of the brain that used to do things certain way, those roads are so paved, so clear. They still have fresh asphalt. They just haven't been traveled on in a while.
Exactly.
Right. And so, every so often, should we be driving a car down that road?
Yeah, no. Those neural pathways don't go away. You just, perfect example, they're still there. You just don't drive on them very often.
Right.
But they're still there. And at any time, if you're not paying attention and you're not aware, and you go down it once, and you go down it twice, and you go down it 3 times, all of a sudden, it becomes a new fork in the road that the mind goes, oh, we're going to go back this way? Right. Oh, we're going this way again. Yeah, we're back on this road. Yeah. And then that's when somebody catches himself in a rabbit hole. And it's been, oh my God, it's been the whole day just ruminating over this thing. And just where I could have taken a couple of just deep breaths and just watched everything come up and allowed the proper response to the situation. Or maybe there is no response. Maybe it's allowing it and accepting that it's there, and then taking the next step forward in whatever I need to do in that day, in that moment, or whatever it is. Right. So it's like we were saying earlier in the show, it's so simple.
Yeah.
And any spiritual teacher would tell you this. It is so simple, but yet to the beginner, to a person who's completely unconscious, it sounds so foreign and so complex and so obscure. And so, oh my God, I don't even know where to start with this. The start and the finish line are an inch apart. Yes, we say there's a road to travel and you're being mindful and it's a journey that we're on, and the road to enlightenment, which by the way, isn't a thing. There's no road to enlightenment. Once you're aware, you're enlightened. If the more you stay aware, the more you are enlightened. The more you make awareness and mindfulness your daily practice in life, you become enlightened on a daily basis. And enlightened doesn't mean you're walking on water with a thing. Enlightened means you're enlightened to the shit that's going on in your head. You're aware to the crap that's in between your ears, and you're not falling victim to it as much. Maybe 10% of the time it still happens, of course, right?
Right.
Even Eckhart Tolle says, I'm human. I have bias and emotions. And he goes, we all do.
Right.
But unfortunately, like I was saying before, through social media, you follow these people you think, oh my God, Tony Robbins has his shit together. And I was listening to him. Who's that guy? Theo
Vaughn.
Theo Vaughn. He's done a bunch of interviews with him. So he was talking to Theo Vaughn, and Theo Vaughn was saying about, some of the, things in his head, he criticized himself and all this negative patterns and, or fears that he's not good enough. And Tony Robbins told him, he goes, bro, I have those same thoughts. He goes, I've always had those thoughts. He goes, well, only thing that's happened, he goes, he didn't use the word transcended. He used a different word. He goes, but over time, he's just transcendent to them. He goes, yeah. He goes, do they bother me as much? He goes, no, a little here and there. He goes, they still come up. He goes, but that's because I don't give them the energy that they want. So they've kind of quieted down over the years, and I just choose to do the things I want to, but they're there. So it's not like they go away. And I think that's where people get hung up. Is I'm being mindful. Why is my mind still fucking with me? being mindful has nothing to do with your mind not trying to give you a boogeyman thought. It has nothing to do with that. It's you realize it's a boogeyman thought now instead of before believing it as like the Bible. Like, oh my God, this is true. This is what happened. It must go this way. I must do this. I must figure this out or the world's going to end. When you realize, open the closet, there's no monster in the closet. But you're scared to open the closet because you don't want to go near the closet because this closet feels scary. But once you realize you open the closet, you look in there, you don't see a monster. You realize, hey, your mind just keeps telling you things because this is what it wants to do. Don't go to the closet. Be aware. You're going to get hurt. Don't do this. You're going to get hurt. You're going to get judged. You're going to get made fun of. You're going to be embarrassed. You're going to fail. You're not going to succeed. We could go on and on and on. Once you realize that it's just doing its job, and by the way, start here, realize it's doing its job, and the end, that finish line is right at the starting line. Once you realize it's just trying to do its job and you get to choose how you want to live your life, that energy that they would have starts to slowly over time dissipate. So the 10s become 9s, those thoughts become an 8, a 7, a 6. And there's a lot of truth to when they say, if you're in therapy, say it takes 6 to 18 months, they'll tell you. And you're like, why 6 to 8? Because there's an acclimation period. But the difference is, like I say, on day 1, you don't realize what mindfulness is. And on day 2, all of a sudden nothing bothers you anymore. Those thoughts are still there, but are you giving them the attention they deserve? Are you realizing that they're not who you are? And the more you do that over time, it becomes you kind of fortify that inside of you. Like that, like I said, that transcends, that awareness grows so big that now it goes from being, it's probably good, from being tunnel vision like this to all of a sudden, the more you do it, okay, I'm only seeing this right now. I'm aware of this, but wait a second. I'm aware, and it becomes this 360. All of a sudden, you're seeing behind your head you have a 360 view now.
That's a great description.
So you see, actually, oh, he just said something. Here it comes. Like you feel it coming up, the thought. You feel the urge coming up. You feel the emotion coming up, and you see it. Yeah, sometimes they're going to grab you. They're going to be strong, but you notice it more. So now you get this global 360 view. So in the beginning, maybe it is like this because, okay, I just realized it. But there's nothing else to learn but practice it every day. Implement it in your life. Become aware of whatever you're doing. Like you don't change. And you don't change as a person, by the way. Like people like, oh, well, you're not as fun anymore. No, hang out with me. You'll see I'm the same jackass I was 20 years ago. I'll still crack a joke, make fun of somebody, bust chops, bust balls, play a practical joke. Like that doesn't change. Yeah, do I do them mindfully? Sure. Right. But that just makes it more fun. But that doesn't change. But all the garbage goes away.
Yeah, I think what you said about having real time that follows the practice is basically you're developing patterns, and those patterns have to be now ingrained the same way those old patterns were ingrained. But now you're going to be ingraining new patterns, new thought processes that, would basically muffle out the old patterns, because you have the ability to see the old pattern want to kick in, but the new pattern you developed wins over the iOS. In other words, yes. You made a choice. At that moment, you made a choice. You could have ruminated, or you could have focused on something else. You chose to focus on something else. Right there, you made a choice. So that's why it takes time. I think takes real clock time to develop the patterns. Yes. Because then it's that every day I gain an inch in vision.
But you're practicing one thing.
Right.
And that goes back to the beginning of the show. We were saying, like, there's all these layers and you have to do all these different things and meditate this way, meditate that way. And again, nothing against, but that just keeps you, that makes the process feel more daunting. Practice that one thing every day. Like you were just saying, like that exponentially starts to grow just by practicing. And what are we practicing? Being mindful. How do I practice being mindful? We've given you tons of examples.
Right.
Whether it is a meditation or when you're doing something, paying attention to it, or if somebody calls you a jackass, hear the word jerk off come up, fly out of your head. Don't respond. Don't say anything. No response. Silence is amazing when you allow it to work as a beneficial tool, because it is. Silence is amazing. Don't respond sometime, and then see what comes up next. I bet you it's going to be a better answer. Right? Don't react. I mean, we keep saying respond because, but don't react.
More productive answer.
A more productive answer.
For sure.
And if you let that one, and even then, if you sit on it a little bit longer, I bet you an even more productive, because what awareness does is it allows you to fine tune that thought and slowly morph it into what it needs to be for that moment, instead of what your mind wants to just go.
I'm going to go one step further. It also connects you to that universal power.
Well, so that's where it would come. Yeah, that's where well, that's what they say.
Yes. It has to be, because mindfulness, to me, for example, here's a good one. So you know how much I love politics. I love.
No, not you.
I love the game. I love the subject, right? But it does not go well with mindfulness. They don't play well together.
They almost can't.
Right? So it's great that I love the subject matter, but they don't play well together.
Well, modern day politics, I should say.
Correct. Yeah. So what happens if I scroll Facebook and I want to go, oh my God, that's so ridiculous.
Oh my God, it happens to me 1,000 times a day.
You want to press reply. You want to comment.
Oh, so many times.
But I don't.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I even want to call someone out. I'm like, we had a private conversation. That's not what you said. That is so non-productive.
Yes.
That is so not going anywhere.
Yeah, agreed.
So why do I say there's this connection? And I point to the skies, because that's where, the gods live.
That's what, yeah.
That's where the gods live.
Thor is up there.
Right. The gods live up there. I don't know if you know that. So that action of not responding didn't feed that wolf, at least from my part. Certainly got plenty of other replies from other people, and there's bickering going back and forth and all that. But that's what a higher power would have wanted, or that's what a higher power possibly would have done, is don't give it energy. Let it pass. Yes, it's full of crap, full of whatever. Stupid, but let it pass. And I think that's even like divine. It's crazy. I always, you mentioned it earlier, and I mentioned it all the time. It's the way Jesus acted. And I can't help but constantly connect.
People probably think they got to be religious. We're actually.
It's crazy.
It's funny because we're not religious.
Right. The reason I'm not, you can't put me in that bucket.
In that box.
Yeah. Right. You can't put me in that box, because I can't agree to the whole entire story of this happened, this happened, this happened.
It's also all the man-made rules that are put by man on top of it, and the layers and the layers and the layers,
the layers,
and the layers that are put on top.
The layers, correct. And so when I speak of a divine power, and I am so open that there is a God, for sure. Matter of fact, there has to be something divine. But when you talk about religion and we go down this rabbit, we don't go down the rabbit, but we could certainly have somebody else go down the rabbit.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Is again, well then, are the Buddhists wrong? Are the Muslims wrong?
No, yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So nobody's wrong. We all have a version of it, and it's up to you to decide which version. So if it's that,
if any of the versions align for you.
And by the way, you've seen people go from one religion to the other.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
So if it were that, we wouldn't be able to do all this. So I think that's all part of the mystique. That's all part of the. So I don't give it any face. I don't give it any height, hair color. I don't give it.
No.
So,
but that's what mindfulness does for you.
I just understand that there could be a higher power, and either way, if there isn't or there is, it's a better way to live. It's a better.
Exactly. But mindfulness, with being aware and being mindful, and when you live your life this way, you're calling out the bullshit in your mind. You're actually calling it out, and you realize the bullshit in other people's minds. And you realize, when I say bullshit, I don't mean it in a derogatory way. It's just nonsense, ideas, thoughts that really are just being spewed out. And do we believe everything, or do we not believe everything that's thrown out? it gives you the ability to be able to say, yes, listen, I can appreciate all these different things. That's great. I can appreciate all these customs. I can appreciate it all. And there's a certain beauty
Yes.
of it all. And that's great. But I'm connected. This allows me where that thought comes from, where that secondary and third. Yes. Does it come from my mind? Of course it does. Where do our thoughts come from? Like where are we? It's people who feel like they're connected, right? There's an energy between us. I feel like we're connected. The more you're mindful, the more aware you are, the more you could feel that in somebody else. Why is that? Because everything is connected in a certain way. So when you allow the original human mind thought to fly out of your head, see what comes up behind it. Where I could say, I could appreciate this religion. I could appreciate that religion and your customs. That's great. Beautiful. But I don't have to align and anchor into any of them because everything on this planet is created by a man. Our political devices were created by men. You know, our religious devices were created by men. Our whatever, it's always created by, when I say man or woman, just human beings, they're created by people who have thoughts. They think this is the best way to do it. Yeah. 2 + 2 is 4 because somebody said 2 + 2 is 4. Somebody said that's the color blue. That's the color blue. I don't know who it was, but somebody said it. And when that person said it, another person believed it. And all of a sudden, here's this color blue. And now we see the sky and we call it blue. But who's to say that's actually blue?
Yeah. It could be.
It doesn't even matter what it is. The point is all these things are given to, and a lot of people, I might have lost a lot of people with that because a lot of people are like, I don't understand how you could say any of that. When you realize that everything we know in life was created and told by us, by men, by people with human minds.
That's all the layers.
That's all the layers. So, okay, believe it, don't believe it, enjoy it, don't enjoy it, appreciate it, don't appreciate it. That's your own personal choice. But when you realize that you could see everything for what it actually is, that's what mindfulness actually does. It gives you the ability to understand that I am not this. I am not that. I don't have to be this. I don't have to be that. I don't must, should, or have to, right? Those are words that I say in the book. There's no must, should, or have to anything in life. You don't have to do anything. Yes, do we try to live by a moral code? Absolutely. But you're not a robot that this is how men have to be. Men must be like this. A man must be stoic. A man cannot show his feelings. A man must. Says who? The caveman died millions of years ago. Like we've evolved from that. Says who that a man can't be emotional? That a man can't show his emotions? That a man can't, says who? They. Who's they? And I love when people go, well, they said it. Who's they? Oh, the people. What people? Society. Society's assholes like you and me walking around saying shit. So says who? If you'll know if you want to feel an emotion, you should be able to, like, if you want to go talk to somebody, because you haven't, go talk to somebody. Everything that you're told was determined by another person who looks like me or looks like him and says, this is the way it is. This must be. Why? Because I said so. I'm Freud and I said this.
Because that's what my parents gave me.
Well, even Sigmund Freud, a lot of his theories are kind of being debunked nowadays, right? And he was a great, psychologist, philosopher, psychologist back in it, right?
Yeah, I mean,
right? You are what you think. That was him. Yeah. And now we're realizing it. It's the fucking it's the absolute opposite. You're not what you think. What you think has nothing to do with who you actually are. And this man was revered at one point, right? I mean, he was world renowned, and I'm not saying like he doing it, but that's what he knew. So he believed that, and he said that, and everybody believes it. And then we went into a period of time that if you had a bad thought, people wanted to, oh my God, you're an evil person. That was torturous for a lot of people because they didn't realize that their thoughts were just thoughts in their minds. Yeah, no, I went on a little bit of a tangent, but I hooked into something beyond, I don't know. I was told, say that. So I said it. Oh, well.
You said it, and you're not taking it back.
Nope, I'm not taking it back. But you guys get my point. I'm joking. But you get the point.
You make a very, very poor business out of this situation because one or two sessions with you, and you're good to go. And then if you want to follow up with me in a month just to kind of say what's up, let me know.
It really is. And that's why in the very beginning, when I would sit with somebody, I'd always wonder, why are people not like coming, like calling back, hey, I want to talk about something else, because it's not the issue anymore. Now, if there's something that somebody wants advice on, like that my expertise in life as my career, I was a contractor, that's a different story. But in something like this, like with the mindful and the mental health aspect, I've always wondered, like, why after a couple of weeks, people just don't, whatever, like we talk once or twice, and we'll talk once in a while, but like it's not recurring. And in the beginning, it would kind of bother me. Am I doing something wrong? And then I realized, I go, holy crap. No, wait, time out. That's my mind making me question it. I'm like, no, because it's so simple. And when I explain it, when we talk, it's so simple. And the person, at some point during the conversation, you get this. Yeah. Like, and you see a light in their eyes, not an aha moment, like, oh, I get it. Oh, okay. No. It's,
you see it in the eyes.
Like a deep, I never noticed that. Like, I love when I hear that word. I never noticed that. Boom. That's it. Now now it's the hook's on the line. You never noticed it. It's because that, by the way, whether it's a marital problem or a financial problem or whatever problem, yes, there are certain things you could do in those arenas to work on it, so to speak, right? But that mindfulness helps you find that answer a lot. Like you could take it. It's a round peg that could become a square, a triangle.
Moldable.
It's moldable. No matter what the hole is, put it in. It's going to change to that hole. It's going to change into a pentagon. It'll change into a star. It'll change into a square. It's going to morph into whatever you need it to be. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah. And I know I say this when we're talking, not just here, but we're talking in front of people or whatever. The book, I highly recommend you get the book. It's short, but it's so to the point. It's not filled with fluff at all. There's no fluff in it. That's why it's so short. It's straight to the point. You're going to learn a lot. You're going to learn a lot about, you learn a lot about John, but you learn a lot about yourself. It's great.
It's short like me.
Yeah. But I don't know. You're not that short.
Short and compact, just like me.
The book is about 5'9".
5'9", 215.
No, it's great. So get John's book.
Listen to the show, get the book, whatever works. Right. Whatever works. I mean, if you listen to the show 95 episodes, you're going to read the book. You're like, I heard this. Yes.
Right. And if you're looking to sell your house, you need a mindful realtor. You don't need just some punky realtor. You need a mindful realtor like myself. So hit me up. Let me know.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was good.
Yeah, no, that was good. So we saw the show. We didn't know where we were going to go with it. Like literally, I was like, Henry, I think after 95 episodes, by the way, this will be 96. I go, I think we're running out of content. He looked at me and goes, no. He goes, put it on. We'll find some shit to talk about.
Well, I mean, not to mention, if you assess this episode of all, that's not all he said. Before we started filming, he goes, it's funny. I never thought I'd be drawing a blank. And I'm like, trust me. You spoke for 85% of this one. So think about it.
Don't get me started.
This came from the gut.
Yeah. No,
this came from the gut. This is good advice. This is good advice. I'm telling you, for somebody who, I'm telling you, one of the best. He's modest about it, but this is the truth. You sometimes you don't need a white coat. You don't need a tie in a suit. You don't need the professional with the DR, doctor, or ESQ. None of that. Sometimes you just need somebody who understands.
Esquire. Took me a second.
Yeah. Sometimes you just need somebody who understands what you're going through and knows how to take you there. That's him.
If you're willing.
Right.
Else,
If you're willing.
I believe there's people I've talked to that there's zero willingness. So it's okay. It's nothing I can do. All right.
Yeah.
Bye. I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
Because it's like I always say when we talk in public, I'm like, unfortunately, our crowd is not the people who are fine. Unfortunately, our crowd is the people who are really suffering with something.
Because they're the most willing.
That's
pain is a motherfucker of a motivator for you to be willing to try and to step out of your comfort zone and say, being uncomfortable is going to be so worth it not to feel like this anymore, or to whatever, feel mentally or just attachment to a certain thing. And there's got to be a better way. And yeah, when you're hurting, and it's unfortunate it happens, but yes, people who are struggling in life and with different aspects, it could be physical pain, mental health struggles, real life problems. But when there's that struggle in life, you find that you're more willing to learn about acceptance and surrender. And then once you do, you're so thankful that you went through what you went through. So look at it. If you're going through something in life, there's an opportunity there for you.
Yeah.
An opportunity to see life a different way. But the choice is yours if you want to and if you're willing to. That's like, I don't know many people who've awakened in their comfort zone. I'm sure it's happened. And I say awakened meaning they become very mindful, like completely mindful. Not I teach a yoga class mindful. And if you do, it's great. I can't bend that way. But that's great if you teach a yoga class. But usually people who went through something, it propels them to be like, there's got to be there's something more.
No doubt.
And and that, by the way, is something in you that's yearning to come out. It's almost like your awareness and your mindfulness and is burning to be ignited to, hey, like put the light on me, like work with me. We could grow, and there's so much better so much better way to experience life. So.
Yeah. And then hopefully if you take that bait, you can pass it on to somebody around you in your inner circle, because there's no doubt about it.
Amen.
As human beings, we're all going through this. We're all going through something. We all have something. And you won't know the joy of a low sounding music until you've heard the loud blare. That you can't stop. That's too much music. And then you'll enjoy when the music is playing really low. But you're only going to enjoy it really, really a lot.
It's a good metaphor.
Because you blasted, oh my God, it's too much noise. Well, then you'll be able to really, really, really enjoy when that volume comes down. Oh, this is good. This is tolerable. It's very nice. Oh, it's beautiful.
Oh, you start drowning. You stop giving all that other noise the attention, right? It's like having that white noise speaker next to you. Until you don't hear it.
Until you have that contrast. So when you have contrast, you can really appreciate the other side, the other side of the coin. It's like the old adage that says you don't know what you have until you lose it.
Until it's gone, yeah.
And my son had a hard lesson like that as of late. And he said it's true. So now he was able to, let's say, recapture or right the wrong.
Yeah.
So what he has now,
there's more of an appreciation.
He's so appreciative. I'm like, this is growth.
Yeah.
This is growth.
The key is then not losing that appreciation, because the mind eventually is going to go, this is getting to be.
Yeah,
we forget. Because it dulls it over time again. That's what the mind does. It'll do that naturally, but the mind will do that. But your awareness never changes. So like the story might change, the feeling might change, but your awareness doesn't. It only grows stronger and becomes more brighter and allows you to see more. But the story will eventually. So something you feel like, that's like the guy who wakes up, I love my wife today, and the next day I hate my wife, and then something happens and goes, oh my God, I love my wife. She's nothing like that nut job. I feel bad for, oh my God, whatever his name is, Mark and his wife over there. Oh, baby, you're the best. And then you meet Sal, and Sal's wife's even a bigger saint. And you look at your wife and you're like, your mind's going to give you, why can't my wife be more like Sal's wife? The story's going to constantly change. So you could appreciate I use wife, your husband, your kid, your job, your money, your car, whatever. An event you're doing or something you're doing in school, like your son, you could appreciate it today, but be careful, because your mind will change that story eventually, because that's what it's going to do. But if you're aware enough, you'll see it doing it, and you're not going to need it to give you permission to appreciate that thing again. You'll appreciate it in spite of it. I don't want to break my phone, but you get the point. That, and I don't know if anybody's left already, because we're gone.
That's it.
Yeah.
We're wrapping it up.
Peace.
With a bow. We'll see you next week for sure. We love this. And look out for the next one. 97.
For me, John Emilio, and the master meditator. You know, we go with that. Henry.
I'm not a man. Okay, wait a minute. These calluses are from deadlift.
Right.
Right.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening in. Like, subscribe. If you do, if you don't,
Please
well,
share,
then
like,
don't.
subscribe.
Yeah. It only, helps us out. We help you. You help us.
One hand washes the other.
You know what I'm saying? I scratch my back. You scratch. You scratch my back. I scratch yours. How you doing? All right. See you later. Peace. The insights and discussions that we speak about on our show are our own opinions and based on our life experiences. If you or someone in your family or someone you know is suffering and in need of help, please get them that help through medical attention or seeking proper therapy. Again, what we speak about are based on our experiences and not intended to be taken as a form of therapy. Thank you.